Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're watching this transmission. I owe my subscribers a New Zealand housing coverage. I did a video the other day. I had a lot of people in the comment section said I was listening to what you had to say about New Zealand. I made a very popular video called Markets Crashing All Around. Yes, it does affect New Zealand too, because New Zealand is a very interesting market. They had everything going well until the 50s, until they stopped using their post offices as banks, and everything became more of of a driven economic system they went into. And the financial deregulation the country went through. New Zealand went back in, I think it was in the late early 50s, when they went through deregulation and then opening up the housing market to the world. And the only problem New Zealand has is no one keeps track of who's buying these properties from outside. There's a land transfer tax record or whatever, of course, because they want to collect your taxes. But there's no proper land transfer tax. I mean, no proper land or community or organization that's put in place to find out who is buying these properties and where these people are coming from, right? So, okay, guys, I'm going to kick this off for all my New Zealanders. I owe this to them. I left them out of the article, world stage crashing, blah blah blah. So this show today is called Uninformed, and there's a reason why it's called Uninformed, people. It's very important, okay? Because everything is intertwined and working with each other. So if you're following me with the housing crisis, you'd understand why there was a foreign buyers tax in Vancouver. Then it went over to New Zealand. Then they tried doing it in different sectors of the housing market in Australia. It starts building up as a global economic problem. So that's a nice photo there I wanted to kind of share with you guys there. So let me get to the article. This is the crashing all around, and I left New Zealand out. And I had quite a few people in the comment section asking. So I owe my people, my Kiwis down in New Zealand, a response. So here it is, guys. And we are going to look in depth of what's going on. And we're going to cover articles that I have covered before that have been affecting the current market right now in New Zealand. So we're going to kick off with time zones, guys. Don't forget to join me in Trends in the Housing Market. It's right here, guys. If you want to see past episodes, don't forget to check out Trends, because there's a lot of people also now that are saying, oh, Mike, how come you're not talking about wages not increasing? Oh, Mike, how come you're not? I have. How come you're not talking about the New Zealand proper being bought out? I have. I coined the term New Zealand proper or Australian proper. Here it is right here. Trends in the Housing Market. And it goes back to almost 2 years and a half of episodes of Trends in the Housing Market, where I cover all English-speaking countries that are being affected with their free markets. So this is very crucial that you guys follow this. So then I have Housing Crisis, Mike in the Night, where guests on, and Rants and Lifestyle, and Game Store Business from Scratch, starting a home business from scratch, living the dream, where I'm living on my terms now. I left the big city, and now I'm living this kind of life. A little bit of video game reviews, so I keep a balanced page so it's not so politically driven and so politically, you know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of outsidedness on my page, so there's a balance. So guys, you guys need to understand, guys. Wow, I'm at 5,555 subscribers. 555, and I also want to thank everybody out there for making me reach 2,005,000 views. My first channel was shut down in December 11th, 2011. I think it was December 11th, 2011, my first page was shut down. I reached, I think, 14,000 subscribers, and I think I was just around 18 million views, and that got shut down real quick in a heartbeat, because I was going into very specifics in the housing market back in the day. I started the page in 2007, I think, and yeah, I went through that, and man, they shut me down quick in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? Quick in a heartbeat. Gordon Smith is on, game on. S675R is on, in the house, in the comment section, guys. So, guys, pay attention. Even though you're not living in New Zealand, whatever's happening there is going to come to a city near you if you're living in an English-speaking country with a free market. Free market means basically come in and buy us out and buy out our futures. So 2 million views on this channel. I'm really happy. My Portuguese channel, before that one got shut down in 2010. 2010 or 2011, my Portuguese channel got shut down under talking about politics in Portuguese Africa, and a little bit about Brazil, and a little bit about Portugal. That one had 77 million views, and that one got shut down too. So they're shutting down anybody that basically goes against the status quo. So anyways, let's continue here. I want to bring this up. Time zone converter, guys. Don't forget to follow me on trends in the housing market. Los Angeles time, 7 p.m. Toronto, Canada, aka Miami, New York, 10 p.m. London, UK, Dublin, Ireland, Edinburgh, United Kingdom, all 3 in the morning if you're up and awake for that. Perth, Australia, 10 in the morning. That's the Thursday, September 6th now. So we're all these dates are now converting to the next morning. So Thursday, September 6th, for example, will be my next show at 10 in the morning. So every Thursday at 10 a.m. Sydney, noon. Thursday, September 6th. So every Thursday at noon in Sydney, Australia, and Auckland, New Zealand, 2 p.m. So turn me on at work. Turn me on at. Just get me out there. Get people listening to what I have to say. So Gordon Smith is saying, if housing drops 50%, will property taxes drop 50%? No, it won't. Property taxes will spike. Property taxes will probably go up anywhere from 1 to 4% if property prices drop, because people are paying the comfort of these high property taxes because they're comfortable paying it because their value of their home is so high. So, but if property prices drop, cities, communities, municipalities need to pay more to support that infrastructure because there's no more money coming in as it was before. So, Gordon Smith, the answer to your question is no. Property taxes will not drop 50% because they will just go up. If the price of oil goes down to $20, $25 a barrel, which it was a few years ago, price of gas spiked, because especially heavily dependent countries on oil reserves. Okay, let's continue here, guys. Time converter difference calculator, guys. So remember, follow these times here, guys. So, okay, now my next message is New Zealand, Wellington, if you're in Wellington, if you're in Auckland, if you're in Christchurch, I don't care where you are. New Zealanders, Kiwis, my fellow men, women, compatriots, mi gente, damas y caballeros, whatever. Listen to me, guys. I need for you guys to add me on Skype. If you're in New Zealand, your boots on the ground, and you're seeing what's going on, if you're living out of a car, if you're living out of a car, or you are homeless, if you are living in a meth-tested home or a rundown building, if you own and you're up to the top in financing and you're not sure what to do, if you are in a situation where you don't understand what's happening around you, your kids are bought out of the market, your grandkids are bought out of the market, I need you to add me on Skype. Let me explain to you why, and this is very crucial. There's a huge media blackout when it comes to housing in New Zealand. I get a lot of good housing reports from all parts of Australia. I get all kinds of stuff from the UK. I get tons of stuff from the United States. I get stuff from Canada. And, I'm having a really tough time getting proper relayed information from New Zealand. So if you're in Christchurch, Auckland, I don't care where you are in New Zealand, add me to Skype. My Skype handle is Mike Martins, MikeMartins, 1980. Add me on Skype if you are in New Zealand and message me your first message. Say, hello, Mike. I am from this city, New Zealand. I am either a real estate agent, I am a homeowner, I am homeless, I'm living in a car, or whatever the case may be. Get this transmission out there and shared. I need people to understand what's going on. There is a very politically system out there. The system is not in favor of the people, and it's turning out to become an absolute nightmare, people. So there's a media blackout on everybody in New Zealand, and so someone's in the comment section here. It's still optimistic here. How long do cycles take to match up? BC Assessment has a way of keeping prices trending up. I meant matching two global cycles. Well, here's the deal. We're not getting the information we need from New Zealand. There is from New Zealand, for example, it's very tough. I know they've banned foreign ownership, Okay, I know BC now, Vancouver's thinking of doing it too, but with okay, in the last, what, 40, 50 years, wages in New Zealand have increased 47.9%. Now, here's the problem. Housing has increased in the last 40, 50 years 291%. But they're not giving us any information in between that. We're not getting real statistics. Yeah, there's a few graphs and charts out there, but a lot of them look like they're swayed to massage the New Zealand resident or the New Zealand proper, or to make sure investors understand where things sit. You know what I'm saying? It's New Zealand now is a market-driven economic system, with the banking system to create this financial, they call it deregulation there, opening up the housing market to the entire planet, and that's been a huge problem, people. But the problem is no one's keeping track of who the hell is buying these properties, and that's the problem. Anyways, before I break, so Steve is saying, Logan is saying, in 2009, the BC assessment froze previous year values to stabilize tax revenues, so they would not adjust majorly down. Well, we'll see what happens if prices start to tank. We're going to start seeing that real quick in a heartbeat. And for people that know this and understand this, or understand what's going on better than I do, because I don't know anything. But if you know better, start a channel. Get yourself out there. I'm really happy to see a lot of new channels getting out there discussing this housing crisis that we're in right now. And if you are in New Zealand, can someone start a channel there? Especially if you have nothing to lose right now, and you're down in the pits, or you have a story you want to share us. Even come on my show. Add me on Skype. Mike Martins 1980 on Skype. Add me. Send me a message. Tell me you're from New Zealand, because I need you in New Zealand. I need more information. So, tight Wellington housing market sees another rise in asking prices. So the average asking price for a house in Wellington continues to rise as the number of houses listed for sale drops. Wellington, the average asking price is 1.7% in August, 639,553, while some regions have experienced an even sharper rise. Wiripura, I can't pronounce that, don't make fun of me, had a rise of 6.6%, the average of 520,000, and Hawke's Bay 3.7% at 521,000. So asking for houses in Wellington have jumped 1.7% in the past month, according to real estate. So this is another real estate-driven company article. It's not from boots on the ground. It's not people that live in this town. Of the 19 regions, 11 reached a record high average asking price of the number of houses listed. Sales dropped 1.6% in the year of August to 21,207. So let's look at this. This might give us a little bit of, right here. Let's watch this video together, guys, and see what's going on. I hope there's no music in this, so they don't flag my channel. Yeah, but this is a royalty-free music. It's been safe and sound. Now the property with the flat above for sale. 2 properties are listed squeezed between high-rises. The Newport family bought the front in 1937. An extra floor was added in 1980. The interior retains its retro charm. That looks amazing, actually. Oh, wallpaper. The back property has a Bering Street address. Wow. So you can rent it out. The views of the front are unbeatable. Okay, so this is just a real estate thing ploy to get people out there to look. So a snapshot of the region at the end of August showed that Wellington had 885 listings. Wairarapa 204, and Hawke's Bay 411. Taylor said that the most sought after areas in Wellington region were the capital city's center in Kahadala, as Wikanad, and I can't even read that. The majority of those looking for homes from within the region. So that is right there. So this is there's a guy talking here. What's this guy talking about? Oh, somebody's resigning. No one cares. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep moving forward. Death on the street, homeless at risk in early death. So where is this? In New Zealand. So this is a huge crisis that's happening there. I've been talking about the New Zealand homelessness, people sleeping in cars, meth tested homes, people being put up in hotels. I mean, this administration that was voted into into power now, their number one is to housing. You know what I'm saying? So it says here, there's everybody's in here. What's this? This argument in the Steve Logan. When prices jump, they are quickly to adjust up. An entire team was dedicated to reviewing everything that may be missed to drive up tax revenues and drive up revenues. They did. They are pretty good and independent. Canadians can't do math, said Steve Logan. Then interest.com .co.nz not allowing me to post a URL. Okay. I'll do that right there, right now. And in the discussion here, either that or they don't want to do the math. Your YouTube doesn't allow links. Did they ride the foreign buyers ban in New Zealand? Yes, they did. They have implemented it. They're working on it, and it's something that has a lot of international criticism. And the international criticism comes from people that don't live in New Zealand and don't know what's going on. And that's the sad part. It's the international criticism. That's not fair. You know why? Because people should be able to voice their own criticism in their own country. And people not living in the country that don't know, understand what's happening, should be able to should not be talking. People that are not in the country and don't understand shouldn't be, oh, you can't do that. You're hurting my feelings. I live in California, and you shouldn't ban foreign people from buying in New Zealand. That is horrible, New Zealand. Why are you doing this? Have you been to New Zealand? Can you find it on the map for us? Okay, here we go. This is our man. This is my man here. I like this guy. This guy's always on here with interest.co.New Zealand. I have followed this guy forever. I've been following his stories and what he's got going on. My dream is to have a professional like this on my show one day to talk about New Zealand housing, hot topics, and what questions outsiders have, like myself. I'm an outsider, but I want to know what's happening there because it's going to affect people living in Vancouver. And what's happening back in other cities are implementing different strategies other cities are putting together. So I'd love to have Greg on the show if he ever... I know I'm a small fry, but we're all small fries at the beginning, right, guys? So he comments here, not only is migration slowing the rate, which it is slowing, is increasing, suggesting that there's a way to go before we hit the bottom. So... like what's been happening, a lot of this is a really good this looks like a really good article. 4th of September, loan to value shackles likely to remain, trade war with the thump Kiwi dollar, more term deposits, how useful are banks and home loan borrowing calculators. So I talk about a lot of this stuff on my show too, but more of on a global scale. So I pick specific countries that we like to go out after. So someone's saying, Steve Logan saying, Mike, what do you think of realtors who won't let you see a house on your own, representing yourself? This insists the agent trying to lock it down. How would you feel as a seller knowing it? Well, if there's a house there on MLS, so what agents are doing are just throwing things up on MLS and hoping they get a call, and basically get a cut of the commission for it. I think there should be I think people should be allowed to go see properties on their own. The potential buyer should be able to contact the owner one-on-one if needs be, right? I think the potential that should be allowed, right? Because then the problem with real estate agents is they have commissions and they have quotas to make, and the problem with that is most likely they'll probably sell you or get you into something that you'll be dissatisfied with in anywhere from 5 to 6 years, or you're going to pay too much for, because that's the only thing on the market at the time. So they got to push whatever they have available, right? So my real estate agent, when I bought this house, she was cool. We looked around the house. It's like, okay, I'm buying this house. I'll write a check. Done. That's it. I needed somebody here because I didn't know the lay of the land that well. So I needed somebody to show me the property. So it is good to have somebody on your side like that could, and some really good real estate agents could help you fight for a better price too. My real estate agent helped me fight for a better price on my house. They were asking, and then it was fantastic. For me, it was a great experience, you know what I'm saying? So Steve Logan says, you are allowed, it is straight up illegal for an agent to misrepresent their seller. Anyone off the street can come in on their own. Yeah. Not knowing all this BS going on behind your back, no joke here in BC. Yeah, there's a lot. That's why I left Vancouver. Now, other cities now, just like that's happening in New Zealand, everyone's leaving Auckland, all the bigger cities, and then now they're manipulating the prices in other cities, just like here. When I left Vancouver, I came to Merritt. I helped manipulate and bring the price up. Now, 9 of the 11 people on my cul-de-sac are from Vancouver. We're all from Vancouver. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's happening here. We're changing the landscape and the dynamic, and we're pushing up housing prices. We don't mean to, but we just don't want to live, like people leaving Auckland and moving to different parts and manipulating the prices in other parts of the region. You know what I'm saying? Just like Californians leaving California and going to Nevada. Nevada is going to see another 100,000 in Q1 of 2019 moving in from California. They've already received 100,000. Mind you, the asking price right now in Nevada is still a benchmark of 295,000, right? So, okay, guys, let's continue here. So, Wellington markets are seeing prices go up. We got to cover this, guys. I'm sorry, but this is actually a big deal because it all.
I suppose they're not sure on how to approach us. In terms of how to connect and talk to us, we're just like normal people. If you want to know about homes, you just sit down, come have a chat. So pretty friendly.
In Auckland's inner city, there are an estimated 177 rough sleepers within a 3-kilometre radius of the.
Come have a chat. So pretty friendly.
In Auckland's inner city, there are an estimated 177 rough sleepers within a 3-kilometre radius of the Sky City. Among them women, men, the elderly and youth, each and every person with their own story to tell. But it's not often these stories get heard. The visible homeless who at face value appear rough are often misjudged. Society just passes on by.
We would like them to know that we're human and we should be treated as such. I don't know, I just think that, and I just don't want people looking down on streeties like they do, and, we're just as human as they are, but, struggling.
There's little time for judgment on the street, where most have little more than the clothes on their back to call their own. The past is irrelevant. How they became homeless is not important. For most, the focus is on the here and now.
Tika aroha whānau. So it's here. I'm homeless, you're homeless. We're both homeless. Well, aroha, let's get going and I'll look after you. Come this way, the best guy's this way. Let's start with there. Start with a feed.
Life is tough on the streets. People battle the elements, personal trauma, addictions and mental health issues. It all takes a toll and can take decades off one's life. But within the concrete jungle of the city streets are also heartwarming stories of a street family who takes care of its own when few others will.
While there are homeless who sleep alone, it's better to be in a group for that support at night.
So pretty friendly.
In Auckland's inner city, there are an estimated 177 rough sleepers within a 3-kilometre radius of the. Those struggling with mental health issues, with addictions, or who for whatever reason are drawn to the streets, are able to find acceptance.
My family, away from family, I was.
Very depressing, people. Very depressing. And this is happening. This is happening, and it's pretty bad. It is something that needs to be addressed because there's too much. I think New Zealand's going through a huge economic takeover, and so there's Lee Naismith there, who lives in Wellington, New Zealand. So if you want to add me, if you want to watch this from the beginning, add me on Skype. I need more people. I need more people from New Zealand on my speed dial so we could have you on the show. We need boots on the ground, okay? Add me on Skype, Mike Martins 1980. I need people. I could keep you camouflaged. I could keep you under wraps. New Zealand is going through a massive economic takeover, and the problem is that it became a market-driven economic system after the 1950s. Everything was all good and well after the war. Everything was building up. A lot of people started to find, now the banking system created a way where it's how much can you afford or who could afford, and basically divided a lot of people out of the sector, right? And they created a financial deregulation and opening up the housing market to the whole world. And opening up the housing market to the whole world is great and all, but the problem is no one's keeping track of who's buying these properties, and that's the problem we're facing here. And as to, somebody was asking, the foreign buyers, banning foreign buyers is still rolling out. I think it's been read twice, and it's being sent right now to for, I think, second approval before it goes. I'm not sure how their House of Commons works there, or their House of Commons, or the White House, or wherever they pass bills there. I need people. So Arjit Lemery, I'm from Auckland. Yeah, I need you on the channel, people. I need you. If you're from New Zealand, I have people already from Australia, from all different cities that call into the show. I have people from the UK. I have people from the United States. I have people from Canada. I have people from everywhere except New Zealand. So if you are from New Zealand and you are pro housing and what's going on, and you're a homeowner and you want to see prices go up, call me. If you want to see prices go down, call me. If you are in a financial rut right now, call me. If you are homeless, call me. If you are right now, how do you say it, couch surfing, call me. If you're, I need to know from everyone's points of views, because unfortunately New Zealand has a really bad media blackout when it comes to their housing crisis. This gentleman here does cover quite a bit of stuff. Check out his page too. If you haven't, please check him. Here he is. Greg Ninnes. Sorry, Nines. And I've been following him for quite a while. I get a lot of my stories from him. And he's got a new story up here. Loan-to-value shackles likely to remain. Let's take a look at this real quick, guys. This is kind of important because I read about loan-to-value in the city of Toronto, and I read loan-to-value in the city of Portland, Oregon, that is facing a loan-to-value issue where people are using their homes as bank machines. So Lee Naismith is, I'm a renter and I've always been, I am 51. That's great. I need renters in here. I need to know what's happening with these meth-tested homes. What's happening with the conditions of living for renters. I want to know what's happening in the, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let's continue here. David Hargreaves says, surprisingly robust monthly mortgage figures suggest that the Royal Bank of New Zealand would put a hold on indefinitely and further relaxation of lending limits. Yeah, it's called stress testing. And this should have been put on since the time of Moses. And they should have stopped, or they should have tracked who's buying New Zealand homes. Like someone said in the comments, New Zealand needs an RBA, not an RBA, a Royal Commission. Royal Commission should have been in place since the time of Moses. No, they put it in after everything gets all destroyed. It's like buying an alarm for your car after it gets broken into. Oh my God, my house was broken into. or my car got robbed. I got to put an alarm on my next car. Well, what's the point? You should have put it on the first car. Why didn't you put this crap into place? Oh, the Royal Commission in Australia, what's 10 months old, 9 months old, if that, and they're going through the books and watching all this garbage that was put on the books from the banking system from the in Australia, fudging numbers, making deals fit. People coming in with this pay stub from 5 years ago. Oh, we can use this pay stub. It's 5 years old. We can use these numbers still. I'm okay with it. You're okay with it. We're all good. And that's garbage. And that's why these lending institutions start to fail. And that's when we get into getting into a financial deregulation. Okay, so everyone's commenting here. I'm from Wellington. Listing numbers here are very low. Properties is which prices are still high. I think people are waiting for spring, summer to list properties for sale. The NCO, if you could add me to Skype, I'd like to have you on the show, please, because it is springtime. It is the first week of spring hitting off, I think, this week in New Zealand and Australia. If you want to add me on Skype, I need to have people on the show. I need boots on the ground. It's Mike Martin's 1980. I really, really need you guys. Because there is a media blackout, and it's all secondary media, or secondary media, or the real news that's actually covering what's happening. That's non-pressured or non-influenced by real estate agents. You know what I'm saying? So let's see here. While I'm prepared to call it, I don't think there will be any further relaxation to the Reserve Bank's lending restrictions this year. The central bank, you may recall, loosened the restrictions a little from the start of this year. I brought that up. I made a story about that. That's disaster. Unless they raised rates right away. It meant that investors had to find deposits of 35 points from 40%, while banks were allowed to put up 15% of new lending, previously maximum of 10%, to high loan-to-value mortgages, above 80% of the value of the property. Earlier this year, Royal Bank of New Zealand made it clear it was in no particular hurry to further relax the rules, saying that there would be no chance of this occurring before the central bank's next financial stability report release set for November 28. I thought for sure that there would be further relaxation in those rules. So it's with a sense of surprise I now feel that not only with the rules not being further relaxed, there's actually even some possibility the next time they are adjusted, they may even be tightened again. So again, we are going back in and out. We are going back in and out of this. Oh, let's loosen it. We're not selling as much. Let's tighten it. Oh my God, we're screwing up again. The monthly lending by borrower type figures complied by the RBNZ have shown that since the start of this year, there has been a perceptible, if hardly rapid, recovery in the share of mortgage market taken by investors from around 21% to 24%, while first home buyers have been featuring increasingly significantly in the overall figures. In recent months, the FHB group has been enjoying its biggest share of overall mortgage market since the RBNZ, Royal Bank of New Zealand, started publishing detailed lending by borrower type figures in 2014. So the RBNZ will have clearly noted these recent trends. Other key figures for the RBNZ to follow closely to the sector of credit figures. So guys, I recommend that people kind of sit on the sidelines for now and watch how the market unfolds. There's too much happening, and New Zealand is they need at least 3 to 4 more rate hikes to adjust to inflation. They're taking a pounding on the world market right now. Their dollar is devaluating, but it is good for exports too, because they're obviously, when your dollar devaluates, your product becomes more attractive because it becomes cheaper, right? Okay, let's keep going here. Okay, I'm looking at the comments, guys. Don't worry, I'm not staring into space here. Okay, where were we? Let's free up a little bit of table space here, guys. So, will banning Chinese and other foreign buyers solve homelessness in New Zealand? Reaction to ban is mixed, with some analysts saying it may help boost affordability, while campaigners say it will not solve the more pressing problem of homelessness. So, guys, they played a game in New Zealand and the UK and Canada and Australia and everywhere that pretty much speaks English. They played the game. Let's build more houses! And that's a problem. You know, build more. I think, guys, oversupply is a myth. I think it's there's no supply is supply versus demand, and build more houses. I think this is going to be the actual nail in the coffin. Nail in the coffin that's going to actually start driving things into the poop fan, the perfect storm. With, like, I'll give you an example. New Zealand, I think they have about 166 new projects to break ground in 2019. And people have pre-builts and pre-sales and whatever you call them, like prepayments on them. And putting more on the market is a myth. That's not the problem, guys. There's not this, because there's I'm willing to bet across New Zealand you got a close to anywhere from 40 to 60,000 empty homes vacant, owned by investors that don't care, leave them empty. I'm willing to bet whatever you want. So Toronto has 99,980 empty units in the GTA. Vancouver has 38,000. You know, Seattle has the empty homes, the vacant homes play a part on how much you pay for rent, on availability for rentals, and it plays a part on people leaving their cities. The mass exodus of people leaving Auckland in the young people and older people cashing out and buying somewhere cheaper or moving to Australia, to Perth and other more affordable areas are doing that. You know what I'm saying? So people are commenting here in the comments. One Man's Way, I'm going to have him on the show sometime, hopefully next week or two, to explain his housing situation and what's been happening. And One Man's Way has a really good income, you know what I'm saying? And then Marlene Barr says, that's right, Mike, heaps of empty houses being left empty on purpose to keep prices high. And that the investor is doing this purposely so that they can manipulate the markets and refinance through the New Zealand banking system, in refinancing with those existing homes and buying up more and more properties, right? And then the New Zealand proper that has worked hard to put that infrastructure there, and the aging infrastructure in New Zealand, and not only that, the aging folks in New Zealand that worked their butts off to contribute to build that bridge, to contribute to build those streets and roundabouts, and that contributed to build those railroads and ports. People are forgetting that, and that's the problem here. Someone saying, check Digital Finance and Analytics from Australia. You should interview him. I've already checked him. A lot of people are too high level for me. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Guys, you got to remember, I have 0 to no education, and I have a grade 6 reading level. I'm just putting this out here because it's affecting the everybody in the Commonwealth or English-speaking countries are suffering right now. I have children. I want them to be able to afford to buy where they want to buy, when they want to buy. You know what I'm saying? I want my children not to be in fear of being homeless because they're completely bought out of the market even though they're 2 years old right now. That's what I'm in fear of. That's what I want to advocate. I'm not talking about, oh yeah, people should get a job so they can get a house. No, it's not that. There's people working 2 jobs and they can't pay rent. They're contributing 70% of their income towards just shelter, a basic necessity. It's not like they want to live in Trump Tower or live on a Wayne Manor or anything. I mean, what people are paying now for rent, yeah, they should be able to rent Wayne Manor or Trump Estates or something for that much money. So, yeah, so I like to have people on my show. Remember, guys, I'm not a big fry here. People that follow me, you know, I create discussion pieces for people. I try to inform as much as I can with what I have to use. I try to make it as basic as possible, proper analytics, more of a street view on things. You know what I'm saying? We do go over graphs and, you know, numbers and pie charts and all that stuff. But I want to keep it down to a level where we could all discuss this and we could all talk together. You know what I'm saying? Steve Logan said, my investments yielded me $3,600 for the last month. If I bought a house, I would have no money to yield any returns and have to... Exactly. There's such better avenues to invest in that give you a better return. Jeez. Everyone's saying, Mike, how come you don't own 5-10 properties in the small town you moved into? You could buy them up cheap. You could buy them up for chump change. I'm like, I don't want to do that. There's so many other avenues you could go into that could, like I could tell you like a couple of stocks that have a 6 points. There's one that's got 6.6 return dividend stock that I'm in. One dividend stock I'm in is paying 6.6% return per month. That's amazing. Sorry, 6.6% per quarter, or 6.6%. I gotta check their annual report, but they're paying me 6.6%. That's phenomenal. It's really tough. And if you have good yielding stocks, there's so many ways. There's so many ways that you can make a lot more money than housing is too risky. You gotta sit on it, and then you have to make sure that nothing happens in the area. Then you have to make sure you don't have a mass exodus like every city is seeing. Holy F. One Man's Way contributed $50. We appreciate you, Mike. Okay, One Man's Way, you are now banned from sending me more money. One Man's Way has sent me, I don't know, like close to $150. One Man's Way, you are not allowed to send me money now for the rest of the year. Well, no, the year is ending soon. So until next year of this time, you're allowed to send a contribution. One Man's Way. I appreciate it. I love you very much. Thank you for contributing to this transmission. Thank you so much. But you are not allowed now, One Man's Way, to send any more contributions. Please, please, please. I appreciate it. He says, I'm a rebel, screw your rules. But I'm going to have him on the show next week because he has a very interesting backstory on what's happening. Makes a very, very impressive income, too. And, will banning Chinese and other foreign buyers solve homelessness in New Zealand? Reaction to the ban is mixed, with some analysis saying it may help boost affordability, while campaigners say it will not solve more pressing problems of homelessness. I get it on both sides. I get it. I get it. Both sides have a great argument here. A ban of foreigners buying homes in New Zealand is not enough to solve the problems of affordable housing and homelessness. Analytics and campaigners said as the country became the latest to impose curb and non-residents buying property. New Zealand's parliament last week passed a law to bar many non-resident foreigners from buying existing homes in a bid to curb house price growth and reduce the rates of homelessness. A ban exempts Australians and may also exclude Singaporeans. So, okay, Australians, obviously, they've been in the same architecture for the longest time, New Zealand and Australia. And Singaporeans have contributed in the last 3-4 decades in New Zealand, too, with infrastructure and a lot of them came and worked a lot of menial construction jobs and stuff, too. So, foreign home buyers in New Zealand made up 3% of the property transfer overall. We have to see this, guys. We need to see this. And according to official data, which does not capture the property bought through trusts. Thank you. Through a numbered company, and then meanwhile you go outside, walk your damn dog, and you're looking around and you're looking, why are these houses all empty? Why are there weeds up this tall? Why are there Christmas ornaments on this house for 3 years now? Why is this fence falling over on the neighbor's side and no one's fixed it? Foreign ownership has attracted criticism in recent years as New Zealand grapples with housing crunch that has seen average prices in the largest cities, Auckland, almost double in the past decade and rise more than 60% nationwide. But reaction to the ban was mixed, with some analysts saying it may help boost affordability, while campaigners said it would not solve more pressing problems of homelessness. It will take some price pressure off the top and the market, which takes a trickle through the affordability at the lower end. However, it won't have much effect, said Timothy Heseldine, professor of economics at the University of Auckland. There's definitely an affordability problem generated simply by pressure of demand and finite supply of desirable real estate. Bans of foreign ownership are a tiny step in this direction. The United Nations estimates that the globally at least 150 million people, or about 2% of the population, are homeless. More than a fifth of the population lacks adequate housing. I think that's wrong. I think there's a lot of people that don't even have running water in their homes or electricity. So I think homelessness also, if you're parts of Africa and stuff, homelessness, I think if you're parts of South and Central America, if you don't have electricity and water in your house, I kind of consider it homelessness, even though you don't have the adequate turn of the century of the turn of the century of what the turn of the century in the 19th 20th century, turn of the century in the 1900s, early 1900s, people had water and electricity. So things of that nature in the 21st century we're in now, 21st century we are in now, if a lot of people don't have electricity and water, I think they're considered also homeless. I'm not trying to say a bad thing. I know people love their homes. I love my home. I mean, my wife's home in the Philippines and her grandma's home on the island, they don't have electricity or water. And I'm going to make videos when I go to the Philippines for you guys to go live there if the internet isn't that shoddy or bad. My wife said the internet's pretty bad there. So anyways, Melanie Barr says, we now have a left-wing government in New Zealand who will not mind if house prices continue to fall because their voter base does not include much of the investor sector. Of course, you need to protect your constituents. Steve Logan says, Mike, are there rentals available in Merritt? Almost zero. Are the rentals at zero? I think the last time I checked, it was at less than 1% of vacancy in the city of Merritt, and that's pretty bad. I could buy a few homes and just strictly rent them out with some good tenants. And the good thing about Merritt is I'm thinking of part-time tenants that come in and work on pipelines, come in and work on the lumber industry, truck driving, and all that industry, right? So I would work maybe getting a few units to house these people that really need a place to stay because they're contributing to our infrastructure, right? So I got somebody in from Hobart here in the comments section. I live in Auckland and I'm not an Asian. So Adrian Sharp, okay, from the beginning if you watch this from the beginning, guys, watch it again tonight if you want. Please add me to Skype. If you're from New Zealand, I want you in New Zealand. If you're from New Zealand, I need you on the show. I need boots on the ground. If you're homeless, couch surfing, looking to buy, waiting on the sidelines, completely bought out of the market, you own, but your house is worth less than what you bought it for. You are borrowing against your house to eat. Whatever situation you are in New Zealand, I need to know what's happening in New Zealand. There's an entire media blackout when it comes to understanding what's happening in New Zealand. In their housing sector, you know what I'm saying? And one thing that I could attribute to that is that nowhere in New Zealand, there's no one keeping track of who's buying these properties. But the only thing is they have the land transfer papers, but that doesn't tell you where they're from or a lot of in-depth information to educate the New Zealand proper in where their country is being sold out to or who it's being sold out to. So Adrian Sharp is a full 10th generation Kiwi. I need you on my show. Add me on Skype, Mike Martins 1980. Adrian, I want you on the show. I want you to tell me the changes you saw. I want to hear stories that your grandparents told you and your parents told you growing up. We want to know. I want you on my show if you're from New Zealand. Someone's saying, I got nothing against Asians, by the way. Neither do I. My wife's Filipina. You know what I'm saying? It's not bad. It's selling out to investors. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? My ex-girlfriend was Chinese. You know, heck, my ex-wife was Muslim. It's about money. And money sees no color, right? Who are we selling out to? Who is New Zealand selling out to? Are they selling their parks like they are in British Columbia? They're selling out mines. In British Columbia, they're selling out mines to China. They're selling out, there's the mine thing. I could bring it up here because I need to bring something like this up. It's very important because it becomes racial, right? So, it's BC Mines. Sell to China. No Canadian hires. So here's the problem here. No Canadian hires for 4 years. So I need to bring this up to back me up because I can't talk. I can't just freely talk. No Canadian hires for 4 years at Chinese-owned mine, BC Mine. So basically what's happening is they're not hiring Canadian workers to work there because it's owned by Chinese in Canadian territory, in Canada proper. So that's a problem. So BC Federation Labor, which represent 500,000 unionized workers, the Chinese workers were cleared under federal government temporary foreign workers program. An injection granted, it would come just as HD is to cusp the bringing of another 60 workers to the site of this month. Here's the problem with this. When somebody gets hurt on that mine, guess what happened? They use the Canadian healthcare. Canadian taxpayers' healthcare when they refuse to hire Canadians. So Marlene Barr saying, my whole family has moved out because it just ain't like the hometown anymore. See, I left the city of Vancouver. I left because it didn't feel like it was Canada anymore. So I left. I moved to a small town. Look at this. Blue skies outside. Beautiful. I don't have all those gray skies in Vancouver. Everybody here is happy. I hear some guy mowing his lawn. I hear kids playing outside. This is Canada proper, people. I'm in it. I'm part of it again. I'm part of it again. And that's what has changed my mood since I moved out here. You know what I'm saying? So Marlene Barr, I need you on my show. Don't be shy. I could keep you anonymous. Don't worry about it. So if your work or your job has a problem with you being on a talk show, you know, I would like to keep everybody under wraps, you know. So if you want to be on my show, please be on my show. So buying power is disappearing in New Zealand because inflationary period it's going into right now. Well, everyone's going into an inflationary period right now. And that's why the whole global crisis is raising rates. UK loosened rates and now is going to reiterate their rates, and having to... Lending practices are under huge scrutiny right now in the UK right now. You know? The United Nations estimated, okay, I got that. Canada last year recognized housing as a fundamental right and committed to creating up to 100,000 affordable housing units, providing financial help to some 300,000 low-income households. Here's the problem with that. That's great, but how come they don't create up to 100,000 well-paying jobs? Why don't they do that? Create 100,000 well-paying private sector, not public. We don't want more government jobs. Private sector jobs. Why don't they use this money to bring in more companies to invest in the country, and then create 100,000 well-paying jobs, and then instead of financially helping 300,000 low-income households, create another couple of 100,000 jobs in the private sector that increases exports, that increases production, that increases the GDP, that increases taxation on people's wages, which is illegal, but they still tax your wages and your labor. But that would be phenomenal, wouldn't it be? But it's not happening. Because you go into this socialist mess where people need government support, instead of people keeping their eye on the prize and focusing on what they really want and building towards it. India has pledged to provide housing for citizens by 2022 with an aim to build 20 million urban housing units and 30 million rural homes, although activists say the program does not address the problem of homelessness. New Zealand has the highest rate of homelessness among wealthy nations that are part of the Organization for Economic, Corporate and Development, with almost 1% of its population living without a permanent address. So here's the deal with that. Let me rephrase that. English-speaking country with an open free market. That's the best way to put it. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has unveiled an ambitious plan to build social infrastructure, including an extra New Zealand $634 million, $425 million US for housing to help thousands of residents sleeping in cars and shop entrances. This is the top of the New Zealand 2.1 billion previously announced to fund Kiwi Build, a government building program to increase affordability housing supply. I've been talking about this for a good while. Phil Tyford's been on the news talking about this for a while to put motions into place. I mean, New Zealand's a port city. I mean, there's ports everywhere, right? There's port cities all over New Zealand. Why don't they get more into exporting? Why don't they create another 30,000 more jobs? Private sector, not public. No one cares about government jobs. The law is unlikely to help the homeless, said James Crow at the advocate group Gimme Shelter Atarora. Whatever, I can't read that. Although this law allows more level playing field for the first home buyers, these are unlikely to be the individuals and families sleeping in cars every night, he said. The major issue remains around the affordable rental accommodation, and most homeless are renters. Most homeless are renters. Better access to first emergency shelter than long-term rental accommodations is crucial next step to resolving homelessness, he said. With at least 55% of the world's population living in urban centers, homelessness is ever more apparent from Los Angeles to Auckland. Well, of course, if you saw that Paul Joseph Watson article, go to the Paul Joseph Watson on YouTube and see that San Francisco thing he did. Okay, Mike, I'm not anonymous, and I'm an old age pensioner. Good. I need Marlene on the show. Marlene, I need you on the show. Add me on Skype. Skype is free. One man's way. Also, franchises are buying up everything. There is no private business in my area anymore. Yeah, that's the problem. If the private or middle class business or mom and pop's business dry up, guess what, people? They're the ones that are flipping the bill and paying the taxes. You think Amazon is honest? Well, I'm not going to throw out company names. You think those big corporations are honest about their taxes and how much they're paying? Or even if they are paying taxes? Or how much incentives the government's giving them without you knowing about it? So, Stephen Logan says, why not have an open line on CKNW? Open line, the lines up. Open lines up. If somebody wants to call me from there here, I'd be very happy. So it goes, while not always feasible, some controls on foreign buyers are needed on residential properties in big cities, said Chris Hammett, professor at King's College London. I welcome what the government of New Zealand has done. It is a way of protecting the residents and housing future of a small country, he said. Small countries don't mean small economies, people. Small, you know what I mean? Small countries don't mean small wages either. You know? This is a very bad sellout. Older people forced to sleep in cars as housing crisis bites. Older people are sleeping in their vehicles due to a growing housing crisis. Seniors are sleeping in their vehicles as the housing crisis bites those in their retirement years. Oh my God, this is so depressing. The Salvation Army is among groups expect more elderly people will be living in their vehicles or on the streets as the population ages, and those without their own homes struggle to pay rents. Salvation Army Social Housing National Director Greg Foster said they recently housed an older man in Auckland who had been living in his truck for the past 2 years. In Nelson, a supported living agency had to turn away 2 older men who had been living in their cars while they tried to find a house. Foster said that there will be a huge need for housing as people get older. I think in New Zealand, the older people, because the New Zealand proper isn't having children as much anymore. So I think the New Zealand proper, I think there's more people going into their boomer years than there is newborns of New Zealand descendants, of actual proper New Zealander. Oh no, people, add me on Skype, guys. People, someone's saying this is how you could set up your live phone line without carrying the cost of a landline. No, I have Skype. It's a free application. I call people on here I call people in Australia all the time. With it, it is a lot louder and a lot clearer, and there's no echo and feedback um, on Skype. It's really clear, right? So I recommend everyone to download Skype. Add me, my handle. You go to the magnifying glass, click on the magnifying glass, and add me. So Marlene Barr saying, where I live, you can't survive in a tent. The climate is so temperate, and food grows everywhere. But to be poor in the city, it is damn ugly. Someone says, yeah, but you can't Skype a landline or cell. Yeah, that's the only thing. If the person has Skype, I think I could call landlines on Skype. I could try it. I've done it before, I think. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, can I call you from a landline to Skype? I don't think I can give you my phone number if you really want. Yeah, Google Voice Dialer. I could check that out. Walking journey in the house. I have 5 children. Everyone, yes, it can be done. And Walking Journey is living really well within his means, living a really good life down in Conroe, Texas. And he left California. The living in California was getting out of control. The cost of living was phenomenally out of control, and he needed to take action. He wanted a family and he wanted land, so he moved to Texas. I think he bought his house for 60 grand on 16 or 15 acres in Conroe, Texas, and he's doing really well. Check out his channel, Walking Journey. He's right there. He's on the right now in the comments section. Los Angeles, California is just like Vancouver. Yep, he's right. I think the amount of people, seniors, going into their years right now, the homelessness rise among older people was due to the factors including a tight, expensive rental market, less home ownership, and low disposable income. It's not looking good. There's some serious demographic challenges blooming, and it's going to be more common sense to see elderly living on the streets. The Salvation Army has 320 units for older people across New Zealand, and they're currently building another 120 in Auckland. We have to build more social housing. It's not rocket science when you think home ownership rates are declining and a growing number of people are retiring. They don't have savings, and there's no way you can survive on your own. So the boomer numbers, I think, are getting a lot bigger right now. Boomers are going to outnumber the birth rate in people going into retirement right now from 55 to 75 or whenever they feel like retiring are going to have to be supported by the people from ages like 15 to 40. But the problem with those people is there's not enough of them, and it's becoming another problem. One Man's Way is asking, Mike, what does Canada do for the homeless in the winter? There's a lot of shelters up, a lot of shelters. They have a lot of facilities up in the bigger cities. I think in the smaller towns, a lot of churches donate space for people. So I think the churches get involved a lot right now. When it comes to no one's out in the cold. Like a lot of people, there's even people in Canada that drive around in minivans picking up people that are sleeping on the streets, and picking them up and taking them to shelters, right, on the cold days. So let's move on. Why freeing up more land won't solve Auckland's housing crisis? Again, this is we're going into that whole supply versus demand. I think putting more, I think creating an oversupply of product and hopefully trickling down the prices of housing is a myth that won't happen. It won't work. Creating more supply. Everyone is doing that right now, and it's not working. Let's move on to the next article. Housing New Zealand, family sleeps on living room floor to keep warm. Luckily, it is springtime now in New Zealand. It's the first week of spring there. So her children have throat and ear infections, as herself and her partner. However, the adults can't afford to go to the doctor. Guys, this is getting really bad, and it's all contributing to the housing problem we're having. And housing is essential. Homeownership is the key to a healthy society and to have an essential infrastructure. And people are forgetting that, and this is why this is happening. So Steve Logan, not true. Last winter there was a whole field in minus 10 Celsius. Weather at night intense. You could see their lights was about 3 to 500 right off the highway. Holy smoke. Steve Logan says, I believe they broke that up now, but many spread out living in the parks. So Steve Logan, please, can you add me to Skype? Mike Martins 1980. Get Skype on your cell phone. Get it. I need to talk to you. I need to know what's going on your end. Hold on. Someone just added me to Skype right now. Let's see who it is. Someone just added me to Skype. Tune you message. Let's see who it is. It's loading right now. Okay, it's just people actually just messaging me. I don't have any ads right now. So see here, I got someone from Japan on Skype that I had on my show last night. I got someone here from New Orleans. I got someone here from New York. I got someone here from Chicago, Melbourne, Perth, Toronto, Vancouver, Canberra. So I got people from everywhere. So Walking Journey is starting his new 18-wheeler job tomorrow. That's good. Make some videos, buddy. So I want to know what's happening. That was in Vernon, BC. So if you're in Vernon, add me too. I'd like to know what's happening with 10 cities across Canada. If you have 10 cities in New Zealand, I'd like to know about them. I know Ireland has quite a few 10 cities. And the 10 cities... The 10 cities in Ireland are right by the Parliament building too, which is really nice. So they like to camp right in front and show Parliament what's going on. Housing. New Zealand takes nearly a month to call off debt collectors from tenants after learning of bogus meth test regime. So there's a lot of meth contamination happening in New Zealand. I would like to have somebody on about that. I've read about it many times. There's about 1,000 cases. And people are not meth testing their homes before they rent them out to the next tenants. Are you listing a threat from a meth test contamination? Again, another problem. So it's a meth horror right now happening in New Zealand. Meth is a disgusting drug that has gone into society and has attacked the poor. Mostly the poor, working poor, middle class, are turning towards meth. And then someone saying, Steve Logan, add me to Skype too, says you should see downtown Kelowna. You can't find a beach without people shooting up. Steve Logan is, how do you meth test a home? It's right here, guys. They take samples from the ceiling, counters, floors, walls, and they sent it in for meth testing contamination. Because when you smoke meth indoors, it damages the you start feeling it in your lungs, especially when you move in, right after another tenant that was in there before. New Zealand debt collectors continue to pursue tenants for meth damage. Again, huge problem. New Zealand bars foreign buying homes, Chinese blocked out while Singaporeans are still allowed. Another article, skyrocketing home prices in Auckland have been of particular concern to New Zealanders, although that market has cooled over the past year. Yes, guys, we've been talking about declines going on and people's homes were being worth less than what they're worth. I think when New Zealand gets one or two interest, if some interest starts going up, interest rates go up, you're going to start to see more people putting their houses on the market, and you're starting to see more houses going on the market right now. and less purchases. So figures released Wednesday by New Zealand Institute of New Zealand indicate that the median house price in Auckland is 835,000 New Zealand dollars, which is 547,000 US, while the median price across the country is 550,000. In June, officials decided that former Today Show Matt Lauer could keep a lakeside ranch near Queenston after authorities concealed that there wasn't enough evidence he breached a good character condition. So this is about somebody who owns a property there, some reporter or something. It goes into this right here. Statistics indicate about 3% of New Zealand homes are being sold to foreigners, but the amount rises to 5% in the scenic Queenston region and 22% in central Auckland. That's a lot of people, man, that are not New Zealand proper. Investors. So, Canadian Child says, the Bankers' Manifesto of 1892 shows how the bankers intentionally create housing bubbles as a conscious strategy to suck in as much public and private wealth as they could before deflation sets in. That's pretty sad, especially when they raise interest rates when housing is at its peak, and everyone that bought within the 3 or 4 years of that time get screwed big time because their housing loses value more than what they bought it for. So this is a quote from the Bankers' Manifesto. When people have lost their homes, they will be more easily governed through the strong arm of the government. People without homes will not quarrel with their leaders. Yeah, you give something to somebody, they have something to lose if they fight back. Remember that, guys. And again, the banking system it's been created into financial deregulation, and buying power is disappearing. And then what can I tell you? You know what I'm saying? There was 47% wage increases in the past 40 years in New Zealand, and housing increases are 291%. So people need to be making anywhere in and about 89 to 95,000 New Zealand dollars per year to maintain a healthy lifestyle that they did 50 years ago, and they're not. Let's move on. Some relief for South housing crisis, but not enough, community leaders say. So more social housing planned by the government. New Zealand accused of making a mockery of the housing crisis by rejecting homes because of their age. What is this?
This 4-bedroom house in the Auckland suburb of Papakura is insulated, has a heat pump and is up for rent.
It's quite a trendy kitchen with all the appliances that a normal family would look for.
The owners approached Housing New Zealand to see if it was interested in leasing the property to a family who need a home. But because it was built before the year 2000, Housing New Zealand is not interested.
They simply just refuted the property simply based on an age without asking any questions about the condition.
In a statement, Housing New Zealand says the blanket ban ensures tenants are provided with warm, dry and healthy homes. It says the older the house, the more improvements will be needed and the more maintenance issues will arise, no matter how good their current status might be.
Rethink this policy. It's a dopey policy. Housing New Zealand needs to understand it's not the age of the house, it's the quality of the house.
In fact, the average age of Housing New Zealand's own homes is 45 years. It's not unusual for the state landlord to lease private homes. Currently, there are 2,500 on its books nationwide. At last count, there were almost 9,000 families on the waiting list for a state-provided house. That's a 60% increase on the same time last year.
There is not enough money being pumped into building state homes fast enough. So in the interim, this is why the blanket ban should be removed to alleviate some of the homelessness.
The Ministry of Social Development may add properties built before 2000 to its short-term accommodation program, but advocates argue permanent housing is what's needed. The Minister in charge, Phil Twyford, says it's an operational matter. Ryan Boswell, One News.
Guys, we need to get Phil Twyford on the show. Who wants to have him on the show here, guys? I need to know. The Housing Minister of New Zealand. Maybe we should come on my show.
Good things take time.
Okay. So that was that. New Zealand Herald, Kiwis too reliant on housing. You don't say? New Zealanders need to change their mindset on investing to beat the risky over-reliance on property investment and help spur the national economy. That's the view of Ainsley McLaren, Executive Director of Investment Management Company, Harbour Asset Management. She says that Kiwis have a mistaken anxiety over the investment cultures outside property and regrettably low levels of understanding the benefits in managed funds. Recent statistics and research bear her out. At the end of last year, statistics of New Zealand figures showed that in 2017, 32% of all investments by Kiwis went into houses. Guys, small businesses! Create, produce, sell, export, God, anything! The highest level since the record began measuring investment levels 45 years ago. Meanwhile, a Financial Market Authority survey published last month revealed by a lack of confidence in investing, concluding that Kiwi must drop the attitude investing is only for the rich. No, FMA head Rob Everett said at the time that he felt many New Zealanders opt out, as their countries he had worked in had a lot of more people investing in even small sums in financial markets. Guys, you need to put more money into financial markets, small businesses, home businesses. Guys, watch my series, Starting a Home Business from Scratch. There's so many ways around it, guys. So I'm going to leave that with you guys. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Southland, chasing the quarter-acre dream. If you build it, they will come, and so it appears, and true in Southland. Subdivisions are starting to gather momentum, and while lifestyle properties at the top end of the market are not so hot to move, while it is clear, what clear is people are chasing the quarter-acre dream and fleeing confident about Sutherland's future. He is about to start an 18-lot subdivision on Dundas Road in Otatara, which has previously been used for sheep grazing and hay production. There it is there, people. So this is really good. People creating in smaller developments. Look at that. If developer has a proposal that does not meet the provisions of the district plan, a resource consent will be required, or they could pay for a change in the district plan. Now that's bad, but that's okay. It's a long story, guys, but there's people out there that are creating, and people will go. If you build it, they will come. Believe me. And then Steve Logan is saying some people can't handle a hit like a new roof, but some have to resort to putting a blue trap for unexpected costs. See this lots in Lower Mainland. See this a lot in Lower Mainland. Yeah. So people don't have the funds available. Auckland 21 already owns 11 properties around New Zealand. So he's bought properties. I think he's been I'm not gonna read this, but I think he's refinanced several times and refinance other properties to make up the equity or the money he needs for down payments. Okay, and that's about it, people. Check out this page interest.co.New Zealand. He's got a really good page, up to date, and New Zealand dollar, wow, it's seeing huge drops. 92nd, 9 a.m. September, anxieties grow. Let's see what he has to say here. He has really short clips here that get to the point. And this is by David Hargreaves. Here's our guy right here. Hopefully.
Hello, I'm David Chester with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This week, get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock. With news, emerging markets are struggling to contain their pressures. But first, we should note that Wall Street is closed for their Labor Day public holiday. Yesterday, most markets in our time zone closed lower, including our own. And there is anxiety over what the New York markets will signal in September. The very long bull run will end at some point, and memories have faded on how these things turn. Overreaction is a common outcome. The OECD is pointing out that global financial risk is high, with interconnectedness through high levels of financial derivative exposure, as high as was just prior to the GFC. They also want global standards to manage and restrain cross-border infrastructure investment, like that of China's Belt and Road Initiative, pointing out the extreme risk building for emerging economies through China's shadow lending. They see the current Chinese track based on corruption, a lack of transparency, ignoring environmental risks, and a twist to the dominance of state-owned enterprises. Surprisingly, China has responded quickly. Overnight, President Xi has promised Africa debt relief. And Argentina has announced a
Yeah, I've been covering the debt relief thing on my Portuguese channel side because there's quite a few countries that speak Portuguese officially in Africa. And I've been covering the debt relief thing there on my Portuguese side channel. And that's another indebtedness, another shackle, if you like to say, on the African continent. So check him out. He's really good. He's really good, actually. And yeah, I like to. I like this guy. I like to have him one day call into my show here and talk about specifically the housing markets and what's happening. And check this guy out. Check him out on your phone. Wow, is this the dollar? Yeah, it's the U.S. dollar benchmark rate. Yeah, so there's lots going on economically outside the housing crisis, but a lot of it is being affected by or how much people will invest in their homes. Someone says recession incoming. Oh, we are right now in a recession. We are right now in a recession. When people need to work 2 jobs, the average person has to work 2 jobs just to cover rent. Guys, we're in a recession right now. It will become a depression. Probably by mid-2019, we will be in depressionary status. We're in recession mode right now. So countries that have raised interest rates at the right time have done so in protecting the values and interests of their countrymen, of their people. Raising interest rates are very important because it creates a little bit of an aggregative buffer on a crash. Anyways, guys, I want to thank everyone. It's an hour and 21 minutes I've been talking. So here's your New Zealand discussion. Lots of discussion. Guys, don't forget to join me for Trends in the Housing Market. Wednesday, September 5th, 2018. Every Wednesday. So basically, my show every Wednesday, guys. In the Western Hemisphere, on the western part of the world. Los Angeles, 7 p.m. Toronto, 10 p.m. London, 3 a.m. Thursday. Dublin, Ireland, United Kingdom, Thursday at 3 a.m. And if you're in Perth or Sydney or Auckland, Perth time, 10 a.m. Thursday. And then Thursday noon, Australia and Sydney, Australia. And then Auckland, New Zealand time, 2 p.m. Thursday. Your time. I'll be live. So if you want to call into the show, let me know. And guys, I want to thank everyone for me reaching 5,555 subs. Let's see if it went down or up. Ooh, I got 2 more. 5,557 subs. And I just reached 2 million views on my channel since 2012. My previous channel, rest in peace, my previous channel that I started in 2006 or 7, that one got up to, I think it was 6, I can't remember. It was like quite a bit of millions of views. And that was taken down. I got into the housing market really in depth, and a lot of people didn't like it, and a lot of people didn't like what I was talking about, and they got my channel taken down. Anyways, guys, I want to thank everyone for joining me today, especially from New Zealand. I want you, New Zealand. Add me to Skype, Mike Martins 1980, and we could discuss what is happening with boots on the ground, especially with this massive media blackout happening in the housing market. Almost like it's like they don't want the rest of the English-speaking world to know what is happening, Comment below. Let me know. Thanks for watching.